The silence on the bridge of the Vindicator was heavy, but it was not a peaceful silence. It was the kind of silence that comes right before a very large explosion. Outside the massive windows of the starship, the blue and white ball of Earth floated in the darkness of space. It looked small and fragile from this distance. Commander Marcus stood near the front of the bridge, looking down at his own hands. He was a tall man with graying hair and a face that rarely showed what he was thinking. For 10 years, he had served the Galactic Coalition. He had left his home planet to see the stars, and now, he was about to watch those stars attack his home. Standing next to him was Lieutenant Sarah. She was younger than Marcus, with sharp eyes that moved quickly from one screen to another. She was tapping on a datapad, checking numbers and lists. On the other side of the room stood Specialist David. He was leaning against a wall, looking bored, but Marcus knew that David was listening to every word spoken on the bridge. The rest of the bridge was filled with aliens. The Krillorians were tall, insect-like creatures with hard shells and many legs. Their leader, High Overlord Zar, sat in the central command chair. His mandibles clicked together constantly, making a sound like dry sticks breaking. Standing near him was Commander Tail, a Velorian. The Velorians were made of shiny metal, and they had no faces, only a smooth plate where a face should be. High Overlord Zar leaned forward. The light from the holographic map reflected in his many eyes. "We are close," Zar said. His voice sounded like static, but the ship's computer translated it into a flat, robotic language. "The planet is there. The scans show it has water, air, and gravity. It is a perfect prize for the Coalition." Marcus took a small step forward. "It is a good planet, Overlord. But it is also complex." "Complex?" Zar laughed. The sound was harsh. "You humans are so proud of your little world. But look at the scans. No energy shields around the planet. No large weapons platforms in space. Your largest ships are slow and clumsy. This conquest will be easy." Commander Tail, the metal alien, spoke next. His voice hummed like an electric motor. "I agree. Our soldiers are better trained. Our technology is thousands of years ahead of theirs. Why are we waiting?" Marcus looked at Sarah. Sarah looked at David. Then, she looked back at her datapad and tried to hide a small smile. David coughed into his hand to cover a laugh. Marcus turned back to the Overlord. "We are not waiting, Overlord. We are just preparing the invasion plan. You asked for the best way to land. My team has prepared the coordinates." He pressed a button on the console. A red light appeared on the holographic map of North America. "If you land here, in the center of the continent," Marcus explained, "you can secure the food supply quickly. The land is flat, which is good for your heavy tanks. The weather is usually mild." Zar studied the map. "And the humans, where is their army?" "They are spread out," Marcus said. "But they will gather quickly. If you want to conquer Earth, you must be fast. Do not give them time to organize." "Good," Zar said. "We like speed. We will crush them before they know what hit them." Sarah spoke up from her station. She did not look up from her screen. "Overlord Zar, I have finished the environmental report. I am sending the data to your ground troops." Zar waved a clawed hand. "Environmental report: we have conquered thousands of planets. We have been in the jungle, the desert, and the ice. My soldiers are strong. They do not need a report." "It is not about strength," Sarah said softly. "It is about safety. Please, look at the file. it is about the local biology. Alien germs cannot harm us, Tail said. We have filters. We are superior. David pushed himself off the wall and walked over to the main console. He looked tired. Commander Tail, with respect, you don't understand. Earth isn't like other planets. The environment is aggressive. The report recommends that your ground troops wear level 5 filtration suits. Do not take them off. Do not open your helmets. Tsar made an angry clicking sound. Are you calling my soldiers weak, human? We are the mightiest force in the galaxy. We do not hide inside plastic suits because of some pollen. I am just telling you the rules, David said. He looked at Marcus, as if asking for help. Marcus nodded. Overlord, my crew is trying to help. We have seen the casualty reports from other invasions where the environment was ignored. We want you to win. Tsar looked at the three humans. He did not trust them. They were from Earth. They were part of the species he was about to enslave. But they had served the coalition for a long time. They had never failed a mission before. Very well, Tsar grumbled. We will look at your safety report. But we will not let it slow us down. Commander Tail, prepare the drop ships. We will land in 1 standard hour. Yes, Overlord, Tail said. He turned and marched away to give orders to the pilots. Tsar stood up. He walked over to the window to look at Earth again. Soon, this planet will be ours. Your people will work in our mines, Marcus. You will see that your resistance is useless. Marcus stood straight and did not look away. Yes, Overlord. Tsar turned and left the bridge, followed by a group of guards. As soon as the doors closed, the mood on the bridge changed. The Krillorian pilots went back to their jobs, ignoring the humans. Sarah walked over to Marcus and David. She leaned in close so no one else could hear. Did they really buy it? She whispered. David smiled. They bought it? They think they are going to a picnic. Did you send the right data? Marcus asked in a low voice. Sarah tapped her screen. Yes. I sent the coordinates for Denver. And I sent the warning about the suits. But I know they won't wear them. Tsar is too proud. Good, Marcus said. He let out a long breath. Because if they actually knew what they were walking into, they would never leave orbit. David laughed. I almost feel sorry for them. I mean, the Krillorians are bad, but nobody deserves what the local wildlife is going to do to them. And the people, Sarah added. Don't forget the people. Marcus looked back at the blue planet. Oh, I won't. The people are the worst part. Commander, a voice called out. It was a Krillorian pilot. The dropships are launching. The first wave is entering the atmosphere. On the main screen, small lights appeared as the ships dropped away from the Vindicator. They were heading down toward the clouds. They were armed with lasers and plasma cannons. They carried thousands of the galaxy's fiercest warriors. They expected to find an army waiting for them. They expected to find buildings burning and humans screaming in fear. Marcus crossed his arms. Well, he said. It's too late to turn back now. Do you think they will notice the weird weather immediately? David asked. They will notice when they try to breathe, Sarah said. The humidity is 80% today. Their shells are going to rust shut. And the noise, Marcus added. Earth is never quiet. They watched the screen in silence. The humans were not scared. They were not sad. They were waiting. They knew that Earth did not need high-tech shields or space lasers to defend itself. Earth had something much worse. It had nature, and it had people who had dealt with bad neighbors for thousands of years. Incoming transmission from the lead dropship, the computer announced. Tsar's voice filled the bridge. We are entering the atmosphere. The sky is clear. We see the city. It looks defenseless. Begin landing procedures. Marcus looked at Sarah and David. Sarah gave a small thumbs up. I guess this is it, David said. The conquest of Earth. It won't last long, Marcus said. The bridge crew of aliens cheered as the ships descended. They celebrated their victory before they had even touched the ground. They had no idea that the planet below was not a treasure waiting to be taken. It was a trap that had been waiting for millions of years, and it was very good at catching things that didn't belong there. Commander, the Krillorian pilot said, turning to Marcus. You look worried. Do not fear. We will be gentle with your people. Marcus looked at the pilot. I'm not worried about my people, he said. I'm worried about yours. The pilot laughed, not understanding. He turned back to his screen, watching the ships fall toward the unsuspecting city below. Marcus leaned back against the console, watching the blue ball spin. He thought about his home, the noise of the traffic, the aggressive squirrels in the parks, the angry neighbors shouting about lawns, and the sheer stubbornness of the human race. Good luck, Marcus whispered to the screen. You're going to need it. The sky above the city of Denver was a bright, crisp blue. It was the kind of morning that made people happy to be alive, but the air was suddenly filled with the scream of engines. 500 Krillorian dropships tore through the clouds, their metal hulls glowing red from the heat of re-entry. They were shaped like jagged spears, designed to cut through the wind and strike fear into hearts. On the ground, the invasion had begun, but it was not going as the aliens expected. In the suburbs, on a quiet street called Maple Avenue, the lead dropship landed hard. It crushed a white picket fence and flattened a carefully tended garden of petunias. The ramp slammed down with a loud clang, and steam hissed from the vents. Commander Zog, a high-ranking Krillorian officer, marched out first. He was followed by 20 of his best soldiers. They were tall, covered in purple armor, and held plasma rifles that hummed with deadly energy. Zog looked around. He was ready for battle. He was ready for soldiers in tanks, or at least humans with guns. Instead, he saw a man standing on the sidewalk. The man was wearing a bright yellow safety vest and a white hard hat. He was holding a clipboard in one hand and a half-eaten sandwich in the other. He looked at the 7-foot-tall alien warrior, then he looked down at the crushed fence. You have got to be kidding me, the man said. He took a bite of his sandwich. Zog raised his plasma rifle. Surrender, human. I am Commander Zog of the Coalition. This city is now under our control. The man sighed deeply. He chewed his sandwich slowly, as if he had all the time in the world. Look, buddy, he said. I don't care if you are Zog, Zig, or the Wizard of Oz. You just crushed the Johnson's fence. Do you know how hard it is to get a permit to build a fence in this neighborhood? Zog lowered his rifle slightly, confused. Permit? I do not need a permit. I am a conqueror. Great title, the man said, scribbling something on his clipboard. Do you have a landing permit? Because you can't just park a spaceship on residential property. It's a zoning violation. Behind Zog, the other Krillorian soldiers shifted uncomfortably. Their antennae twitched. They could smell something strange in the air. It smelled like exhaust fumes and fried food. "We are here to enslave your population," Zog shouted, trying to sound scary again. "Where is your army? Where are your defenders?" The man pointed to the street corner. "The army, they're probably stuck in traffic on the I-25. It's gridlocked because of an accident earlier. As for defenders..." He looked at his watch. "Well, shift change is about to start at the coffee shop. You really don't want to be here when the caffeine addicts wake up." Suddenly, a high-pitched scream came from the alleyway behind the dropship. Zog turned around. Ambush! But it was not a human soldier. It was a woman. She was wearing a bathrobe and fuzzy slippers, and her hair was wrapped in a towel. She marched out of her back gate, holding a broom like a spear. "Who is making all that noise?" she yelled. "Some people are trying to sleep in." The Krillorian soldiers aimed their weapons at her. "Halt, female!" Zog ordered. The woman, whose name was Linda, did not halt. She walked right up to Zog. She was not afraid. In fact, she looked furious. She looked Zog up and down, her eyes narrowing. "You look like a giant bug," she said. "Are you the ones who knocked over the trash cans last night?" We arrived from space 5 minutes ago," Zog stammered. Linda's presence was surprisingly intimidating. "Don't lie to me," Linda snapped, hitting Zog's armored shin with her broom. It made a hollow thwack sound. "I know you aliens are messy. The raccoons are bad enough, but I won't have giant spaceships parking on my lawn." "Seize her!" Zog commanded. 2 soldiers moved forward to grab Linda. But before they could reach her, a rustling sound came from the large metal trash bins nearby. The lids flew open. Out poured a flood of fur. Dozens of raccoons swarmed into the street. They were small, chubby animals with bandit masks on their faces and nimble little hands. "Ah, the reinforcements," the construction worker said, stepping back to finish his sandwich. The raccoons did not attack the humans. They ran straight for the aliens. They were curious, hungry, and completely fearless. One raccoon climbed up the leg of a Krillorian soldier, chattering happily. It reached into a pouch on the alien's belt and pulled out a ration bar. "Get it off me!" the soldier shrieked, flailing his arms. "It is biting my armor." Another raccoon found a loose wire on the dropship's landing gear and started chewing on it. Sparks flew. "Stop them!" Zog roared. He fired his plasma rifle into the air. The bright green bolt scared the raccoons for a second, but they quickly realized the shots weren't hitting them. They went back to stealing anything that wasn't nailed down. While the soldiers were distracted by the raccoons, Linda started yelling at Zog again. "And look at this. You're scaring the stray cats? Mrs. Whiskers is hiding under the porch." Zog looked at the woman. This was not how conquest was supposed to work. In the simulations, the humans ran away. They didn't complain about trash cans. "We are the supreme rulers of the galaxy," Zog yelled. "Bow before us." Linda put her hands on her hips. "I don't care if you're the king of Mars. You move that ship, or I'm calling the Homeowners Association." Zog froze. He had studied human databases, but he had skipped over the local housing regulations. "What is this association?" "They are worse than the army," the construction worker said helpfully. "They have lawyers." Suddenly, Zog's communication device crackled. It was a message from the fleet in orbit. "Commander Zog, report. Why have you not secured the target? The other dropships are reporting similar," Distractions. Zog looked around. His squad was fighting off raccoons. One soldier was trying to chase a dog that had stolen his helmet. Linda was still hitting him with the broom. And he could hear sirens in the distance. Not military sirens, but police sirens and fire trucks. We are encountering resistance, Zog admitted into the device. What kind of resistance? The voice asked. Is it the nuclear missiles? No, Zog said, watching a raccoon steal his plasma pistol. It is the wildlife. And the locals are very rude. Back on the Vindicator, Marcus was watching the video feed from the dropships. He stood with his arms crossed, his face completely calm. Beside him, Sarah was covering her mouth with her hand, trying not to laugh out loud. David was shaking his head. They are getting mauled by trash pandas, David whispered. This is the greatest day of my life. On the screen, they saw Linda chasing Zog around the crushed fence. Who is that woman? Zar asked, staring at the screen in horror. Is she a human which she controls the small furry beasts? Marcus cleared his throat. No, Overlord. That is just a homeowner. She is angry because the aliens damaged her property value. She is chasing a fully armed platoon. Zar clicked his mandibles rapidly. Why does your soldier not shoot her? Because, Sarah said, her voice shaking slightly, if he hurts her, the HOA will sue him. And the fines are astronomical. Zar looked confused. Sue him? What does that mean? It means they will take all his money, Marcus explained simply. And then they will take his ship. Zar shuddered. This planet is terrifying. On the ground, Zog had had enough. He ordered his men back into the ship. The raccoons had looted them completely. They had taken food, tools, and 3 spare battery packs. The Krillorian soldiers scrambled up the ramp, bruised and embarrassed. Retreat! Zog shouted. We must regroup. Linda stood at the bottom of the ramp, shaking her broom at them. And don't come back. Or I'll release the geese. The ramp closed, and the dropship lifted off, heading back to the sky. The construction worker finished his sandwich and pulled out his phone. Hey, City Hall, he said into the phone. Yeah, you need to send a crew. Some aliens just tore up the pavement on Maple Avenue. Yeah, again. No, I think they left. No, the raccoons are still here, though. The dropship flew away, hovering uncertainly over the city. Zog sat in the pilot seat, his breathing heavy. His second in command, a soldier named Crag, was checking a bite mark on his leg. Sir, the armor held, Crag said. But they were very persistent. And they stole my rations. They are not soldiers, Zog growled. They are monsters. And the humans, they protect them. They command them. Orders, sir, the pilot asked. Zog looked at the map. We cannot stay in the residential zones. The resistance is too fierce there, we will move to the open areas. The reports say there are large fields to the east. We will crush the humans there. Understood, the pilot said. Setting course for the rural zones. The ship banked and flew away from the houses, leaving the angry woman and the thieving raccoons behind. Zog thought the open fields would be safer. He thought they would find easy targets there. He didn't know that the open fields were where the farmers kept their equipment, and that farmers were even crankier than suburban homeowners. Marcus watched the ship change course on the tactical map. He nodded slowly. They are moving out of the city, he noted. Good, David said. Now they get to meet the real welcoming committee. I hope they brought insect repellent, Sarah added. The mosquitoes out east are big enough to carry off a small dog. Tsar watched the blue planet spin. He had thought Earth would be easy. He had thought the humans were weak sheep. But now, he saw that the planet was a chaotic mess of dangerous creatures and angry people. Send the next wave, Tsar commanded. But tell them to be careful. It seems the local fauna fights back. Marcus smiled. It was a small, tight smile. He knew the Krillorians had only seen the beginning. The raccoons were just the start. The planet was waking up, and it was not happy. The Krillorian dropships moved away from the cities and the angry suburbs. They flew over the highways and the towns, looking for a safer place to land. Commander Zog wanted a location that was flat, empty, and far away from humans with brooms or strange, furry animals. Below them, the landscape changed. The streets and houses disappeared, replaced by endless green fields and patches of dark trees. It looked peaceful. It looked quiet. This is better, Zog said, looking at the screens on the ship. There are no structures here. Just primitive farming land. We will establish a base here and then move on the cities. The pilot, a nervous Krillorian named Vex, checked his sensors. Sir, I am reading high levels of biological activity in the air. It is thicker than the city air. Just moisture, Zog said, waving his hand. We have filters. Ignore it. Find a clearing. Vex nodded and pushed the ship down toward a large field of tall green grass. The wind was blowing, making the grass look like waves on an ocean. As the landing gear extended, a thick mist began to form around the ship. I do not like this mist, Crag, the second in command, muttered. It smells like wet earth and old socks. It is nature, you coward, Zog snapped. Prepare to deploy. The ship landed with a soft thud in the mud. The ramp opened, and the steam from the engine mixed with the fog. It was hot and incredibly humid. The air felt heavy, like trying to breathe through a hot, wet towel. Zog led his troops out. The ground was soft, and their heavy boots sank into the mud with every step. The air filled their helmets, circulating through the filters David had recommended, but Zog had ordered his men to open their face plates. He wanted them to smell the fear of their enemies. Breathe deep. Zog commanded. This air makes us strong. 2 minutes later, Private Claw started to cough. It was a dry, hacking cough that echoed through the clearing. Then another soldier sneezed. A loud, explosive sneeze that shook his entire helmet. Allergies? Crag asked, rubbing his own nose. It is the pollen, Claw wheezed. It is everywhere. It is trying to get inside my nose. Zog rolled his eyes. Stop complaining. Form a perimeter. We need to secure this area. But as they walked, they realized the ground was not empty. The tall grass was full of life. Suddenly, a buzzing sound filled the air. It was low and loud, like a tiny electric saw. A giant dragonfly flew past Zog's head. It was the size of a small bird. Then came the mosquitoes. They were not normal mosquitoes. These were giant, aggressive swamp mosquitoes that had lived near the river for thousands of years. Auk! Claw screamed, slapping his neck. I am bitten. It bit through my armor. The filters! Crag shouted. Close the face plates. But it was too late. The bugs were inside their suits, biting their soft skin, buzzing in their ears, and generally making a nuisance of themselves. The Krillorians were tough warriors, but they were not used to fighting an enemy they could not shoot. You cannot shoot a mosquito with a plasma rifle. Zog tried to maintain order, but the humidity was making his shell soft. He felt sluggish. The thick mud was pulling at his legs, making every step a battle. Move forward! Zog yelled, wiping sweat from his forehead. We must find higher ground. They waded through the swampy field toward a line of trees. The trees were ancient oaks, with branches that reached out like skeleton fingers. As they entered the shade of the woods, the temperature dropped, but the buzzing got worse. Suddenly, a voice rang out through the trees. It was a human voice, but it was not screaming. It was singing. Oh, the old barns needn't paint, the tractors got a flat. The voice was deep and raspy, coming from right ahead. Freeze, Zog whispered. He raised his weapon. There is a native. They stepped into a small clearing. Sitting on a tree stump was an older human male. He was wearing overalls with no shirt underneath, and a beat-up straw hat on his head. He was whittling a piece of wood with a small knife. Next to him lay the biggest dog Zog had ever seen. It looked like a wolf, but it was lying on its back, snoring loudly. The old man looked up. He didn't seem surprised to see 10 heavily armed aliens standing in his swamp. He just spit on the ground. You boys are making a lot of noise, the man said. He didn't stop whittling. You're gonna scare the catfish. Zog stepped forward. I am Commander Zog. Surrender, old man. Your land belongs to the coalition now. The man laughed. It was a dry, crackly laugh like stepping on autumn leaves. Son, you can have this land if you want it. But it's gonna cost you a fortune in dry cleaning. Do not mock me. Zog shouted. Where is your army? Where are your defenses? The old man pointed a thumb behind him. Back there. About a mile down the road at the diner. They're having lunch special. Zog hesitated. The intel said humans loved to fight. Why were they at a diner? You are lying, Zog said. I ain't got time to lie, the old man said. I'm busy. But you might want to watch your step. Why? Because you just stepped on a briar patch, the old man said with a grin. And that big dog, his name is Buster. He hates strangers. As if on cue, the giant dog woke up. It shook itself, sending a cloud of dust into the air. It looked at the aliens. It didn't bark. It just growled. It was a low, rumbling sound that vibrated in Zog's chest. Then, Buster stood up. He was massive. He walked over to the nearest soldier and sniffed his boot. Don't move, Crag whispered. The beast is evaluating us. Buster sneezed on the soldier's leg, then lifted his leg and peed on the Krillorian's pristine armor. He marked you, the old man laughed. You're part of the pack now. The soldier looked down in horror. Disgusting. It is defiling me. Fire on the beast. Zog ordered. Zog pulled the trigger. A bolt of green plasma shot out, but Buster was surprisingly fast. The bolt hit a tree, exploding a hole in the trunk. Buster didn't attack. Instead, he ran away, tail tucked between his legs, yelping as if he had been beaten. Coward! Zog yelled. Nope, the old man said. He's going to get the cows. Cows? Zog asked. What are cows? You'll see, the old man said. The ground started to tremble. At first, Zog thought it was an earthquake. But then, through the trees, he saw them. A massive herd of black and white beasts was stampeding toward them. There must have been 200 of them, heavy and fast, with hooves the size of dinner plates. The cows! Crag screamed. They are charging. Run! Zog ordered. The Krillorian warriors turned and fled. They ran through the mud, tripping over roots, swatting at mosquitoes, and trying to outrun the angry dairy cows. Behind them, the old man sat on his stump, whittling and laughing. On the bridge of the Vindicator, Marcus and David were watching the live feed. He's being chased by cows, David said, wiping a tear from his eye. I can't believe it. The most advanced army in the galaxy, defeated by livestock. Cows can be dangerous if they are startled, Sarah said, trying to be serious. Especially in a stampede. Look at the humidity readings, Marcus said, pointing to a graph. It is 90% humidity down there. Their armor is not venting properly. They are overheating. Indeed, back in the swamp, Zog was gasping for air. The heat was unbearable. The sweat was stinging his eyes. The pollen was making him sneeze repeatedly. He tripped over a log and fell face first into a patch of poison ivy. My face! Zog yelled. It burns. It burns. Sir, we need to get back to the ship. Crag yelled. He was covered in mosquito bites. He looked like a bumpy red strawberry. They scrambled up the ramp of the drop ship, slamming the door shut just as the lead cow crashed into the side of the hull. The ship shook violently. Inside the ship, it was chaos. Soldiers were scratching, coughing, and complaining about the mud. Zog looked at himself. He was covered in dirt, leaves, and a bright red rash was spreading across his face. This planet is toxic, Zog wheezed. The plants try to burn you. The bugs eat you alive. The animals try to trample you. And the old man Vex asked from the cockpit. Did we kill him? He is not worth the ammo, Zog grumbled. Take us up. We cannot operate in this swamp. The ship lifted off, leaving the angry cows and the laughing farmer behind. Zog sat in the command chair, feeling miserable. He had never lost a battle before. He had never faced an enemy like this. Back on the ship, the medical officer was trying to put cream on the soldiers' rashes. The air filters were working overtime, trying to scrub the pollen out of the system. I hate Earth, Claw muttered, scratching his arm. I want to go home. Zog looked at the screen. They needed to land somewhere. Every time they touched the ground, something went wrong. The city had the angry homeowners and the raccoons. The country had the heat, the bugs, and the cows. We cannot stay here, Zog said. We need to find a place where the humans are civilized. Maybe their military bases will be more predictable. Or, Crag suggested, we can just bomb them from orbit. High overlords are want slaves and resources, Zog sighed. He does not want a pile of ash. We have to engage them on the ground. Where next, sir? Zog looked at the map. He saw a large area of flat concrete and steel structures. It was an industrial zone. We will land there, Zog decided. It looks clean. No trees, no grass. Just machines. Machines we understand. He didn't know that the machines of Earth were just as difficult to deal with as the nature. But for now, he just wanted to get out of the mud. Marcus watched the ship change course. He felt a little bad for the aliens, but only a little. He had warned them about the environment. He had told them about the filter suits. They are going to the industrial district, Marcus said. That's not going to be any better. Why? David asked. No bugs there. No, Sarah said. But wait until they meet the mid-level managers. They can be more poisonous than any plant. Marcus nodded. Earth defends itself in strange ways. If the mosquitoes don't get you, the paperwork will. The battle for Earth was not going well for the coalition. They had the weapons, but Earth had the home field advantage, and the home team was playing dirty. The Krillorian dropships, bruised and muddy from their battles in the suburbs and the swamp, moved toward the industrial zone. This part of the city was different. There were no trees, no gardens, and no picket fences. It was a maze of gray concrete, tall smokestacks, and large warehouses. The air here smelled like oil and burned metal. Commander Zog stood on the bridge of his ship, looking for a place to land. His face was covered in a red rash from the poison ivy, and he was still scratching mosquito bites. He was tired, angry, and confused. We will land in that parking lot, Zog said, pointing a clawed finger at a large flat expanse of black asphalt near a row of giant buildings. It looks stable. No nature can grow there. The pilot, Vex, nodded wearily. Yes, sir. Scans show no dangerous animals. Just large metal boxes. Good, Zog grumbled. I prefer metal. Metal does not bite. The ship descended slowly. The landing gear touched the hot asphalt with a loud thud. The ramp lowered, letting out the hiss of pressurized air. Zog walked out first, followed by his most trusted officers. They kept their helmets open this time, because the air was dry and didn't smell like pollen. The lot was empty except for rows of parked cars. The buildings had signs on them that said Global Tech Logistics and Worldwide Shipping. It looked like a place where humans moved things from one place to another. This is better, Crag said, looking around. It is quiet. The humans are hiding inside. Secure the perimeter, Zog ordered. We will enter those buildings and find their leaders. As the soldiers spread out, a small, four-wheeled vehicle came driving around the corner of the warehouse. It was painted a bright yellow color and moved with a quiet hum. Sitting inside was a human male. He was wearing a high-visibility safety vest and a hard hat, just like the man in the suburbs, but this man had a clipboard attached to his steering wheel. The vehicle stopped right in front of Zog. The man turned off the engine and stepped down. He was shorter than the average human, with a mustache and a friendly smile. Hey there, the man said. He didn't look scared at all. You guys lost. Zog narrowed his eyes. I am Commander Zog of the Galactic Coalition. We are here to conquer this facility. Who are you? The man wiped his hand on his pants and offered it to Zog. I'm Tom. I'm the shift supervisor. Zog stared at the hand. He did not shake it. You will surrender this building to me, Tom. My troops need this location for our base of operations. Tom laughed. It was a friendly chuckle. Well, I'd love to help you out, Commander, but you can't park here. I am not parking, Zog roared. I am invading. Yeah, I get that, Tom said, checking his watch. But this is loading zone B. It's strictly for commercial delivery vehicles. If you're not delivering freight, you're gonna get a ticket. A ticket? Zog asked. He looked at Crag. Crag shrugged. Yeah, a citation, Tom explained. The city is very strict about unauthorized parking in industrial zones. Especially during business hours. We have spaceships. Zog shouted, pointing at the sky. We do not follow your parking rules. Tom sighed and took a step closer. He lowered his voice, as if he was sharing a secret. Look, between you and me, I get it. You're the boss. You want a good spot. But I've got a corporate audit coming up in 20 minutes. If the auditors see your spaceship blocking the dock, my numbers are going to look terrible. Zog was confused. Numbers? What numbers? Efficiency ratings, Tom said seriously. If my throughput drops because the dock is blocked, I lose my bonus. And if I lose my bonus, my wife is going to be very angry. You don't want to make my wife angry. Zog looked at the small human. The aliens were used to humans screaming and running away, or hitting them with brooms. This human was talking about bonuses and wives. I do not care about your bonus, Zog said. Move aside. Tom didn't move. Instead, he reached into the pocket of his vest and pulled out a stack of glossy papers. Okay. But before you start your war, have you considered your financial future? Conquering is an unstable career path. Have you thought about investing? Investing? Zog asked. Yeah, Tom said, handing a brochure to Zog. I'm also a licensed real estate agent on the weekends. Look at this. A beautiful condo development in Florida. Pre-construction prices. Great for retirement. Zog looked at the brochure. It showed a picture of a blue swimming pool and happy people drinking orange juice. Why are you giving me this? Zog asked. Because you look like a guy with disposable income, Tom said smoothly. That armor looks expensive. You don't want to just spend it all on plasma fuel. You want to build equity. You know, tax write-offs. Behind Zog, one of the Velarian mechs that had joined the landing party walked over. The Velarians were logical robots. They usually didn't care about human chatter. Commander, the Velarian pilot's voice boomed from the mech's speakers. This mail is speaking of interest rates and amortization schedules. The math seems solid. Zog turned around. What? According to his brochure, the Velarian continued, if we put a down payment on 3 units now, the value will increase by 15% in 2 solar cycles. That is a better return than plundering this warehouse. Zog's mandibles clicked in frustration. We are here to conquer. Not to buy vacation homes. But Commander, Crag interrupted. He was looking at his own datapad. I have been calculating the cost of this invasion. The fuel to get here was expensive. If we buy these condos, we can rent them out and generate passive income. We could retire early. Zog looked at his soldiers. They were all looking at the brochures Tom had handed out. They were nodding. They were interested. Stop it! Zog yelled. This is a trick. It's not a trick, Tom said with a smile. It's an opportunity. But the offer ends at midnight. Do you want to fill out an application? I can do it right here on my clipboard. Meanwhile, on the other side of the parking lot, a second group of aliens had gathered. This was the engineering squad. They were supposed to break into the warehouse, but instead, they were talking to a human woman named Susan. Susan worked in human resources. She was wearing a blazer and holding a tablet. So, Susan was saying to the alien engineer. You say you have experience in orbital mechanics. Yes, the alien buzzed. I can navigate asteroid fields. That's great, Susan said, typing on her tablet. But do you know Microsoft Excel? Excel. It's a spreadsheet program, Susan said. We have a lot of data entry backlog. If you sign this contract, we can offer you a dental plan and a 401k match. A dental plan? The alien asked, showing his sharp teeth. My species does not have dentists. Exactly, Susan said. Think of the preventative care. Plus, we have casual Fridays. The alien looked at his plasma cutter. Then he looked at Susan's tablet. I will take the job, he said. The hours in the coalition are terrible. My boss, Zog, yells all the time. I want a cubicle. Back at the main ship, Zog was losing control of his army. Commander! Crag shouted. I just got approved for a loan. The interest rate is low because I am an alien resident. We are not residents. Zog screamed. We are invaders. Tom patted Zog on the shoulder. Relax, big guy. Stress is bad for your blood pressure. Hey, if you buy 2 condos, I'll throw in a set of steak knives. Zog pushed Tom's hand away. He looked around the parking lot. His soldiers were filling out forms. The Velarians were discussing adjustable rate mortgages. The engineers were filling out tax forms. Nobody was looking at the warehouse. Nobody was looking for the human army. This is madness, Zog whispered. He looked up at the sky, wondering if High Overlord Zar was watching this. On the bridge of the Vindicator, High Overlord Zar was indeed watching. He was gripping the armrests of his chair so hard that the metal was bending. What is happening? Zar growled. Why are they filling out paperwork? Marcus stood next to the Overlord, looking at the screen with a straight face. It appears, sir, that your troops are being assimilated into the workforce. They are being hired, Zar asked. I did not give permission for them to have jobs. It is the American dream, Overlord, David said from the side. Once you offer them a steady paycheck and benefits, they lose the will to fight. The bureaucracy is stronger than any weapon. On the screen, Zog was trying to order a retreat, but no one was listening to him. Sir, Crag said, holding up a pen. I need a reference for this application. Can I put you down? I am leaving. Zog yelled. He turned and ran back to the dropship ramp. I am done with this planet. You can all stay here and pay taxes. Tom watched Zog run. Hey! You forgot your steak knives. He called out. Zog slammed his fist on the button to close the ramp. He sat in the pilot's chair, breathing hard. The ramp closed, sealing him inside the quiet ship. Vex, Zog said. Take us up. Now. But sir, Vex said from the cockpit. The soldier in Unit 4 just signed a lease for a minivan. He needs a ride to the dealership. Leave him. Zog roared. We are going back to orbit. The dropship lifted off, leaving most of the invasion force on the ground. The soldiers waved goodbye happily, holding their new purchase agreements. As the ship rose into the air, Zog looked down at the parking lot. It looked like a normal business day now. Aliens and humans were shaking hands. It was the most successful defeat in galactic history. Marcus watched the telemetry on the bridge. Well, Overlord, that was quick. The ground troops have been neutralized. Zar stared at the screen. They were not destroyed. They were employed. Same thing, really, David whispered. Zar turned his chair to face Marcus. What else do you have on this planet? We have faced the angry homeowners, the wild nature, and the salespeople. Is there anything left? Yes, Marcus said. There is one last group. The ones who really run the world. Who? Zar asked. Your military leaders. No, Sarah said, speaking up from her station. The people who control the information. The internet. Tsar shuddered. Tell me we do not have to go there. If you want Earth, Marcus said, you have to face the servers. Zog's ship docked with the Vindicator. He walked onto the bridge looking like a defeated warrior. He was covered in rash, mosquito bites, and now he had a sold sticker stuck to his armor. Overlord, Zog said, bowing his head. I request reassignment. Anywhere but here. Send me to the ice planets. Send me to the sun. Just do not make me go back down there. Tsar looked at his weary commander. He looked at the planet below. It was a beautiful blue marble, but it was filled with invisible traps. Very well, Tsar said. We will not send more soldiers. If we cannot take it by force, we will cut them off from the stars. We will destroy their communication satellites. We will isolate them. Marcus kept his face calm, but inside, he was smiling. He knew that messing with Earth's internet was the worst mistake they could make. The people of Earth didn't care about the stars as much as they cared about their Wi-Fi. As you wish, Overlord, Marcus said. Tsar ordered the fleet to prepare the main cannons. They were going to shoot down the satellites. They thought this would make the humans panic. They thought it would break their spirit. They didn't know that when you take away the internet, the humans don't hide. They come outside. And they are very, very bored. Target the satellites, Tsar commanded, fire at will. The Vindicator charged its weapons. This was the final phase. The coalition was about to find out what happened when you annoyed the entire world at the same time. The bridge of the Vindicator was silent, but this time, it was a tense silence. High Overlord Tsar stood in front of the main window, looking down at the blue planet. He had tried to conquer with soldiers, but the soldiers had been chased by raccoons, defeated by cows, and hired by human resources. He was angry. Prepare the main cannon, Tsar ordered. His voice was cold and hard. If we cannot land on the planet, we will destroy it from above. We will shoot down their communication satellites. We will cut them off from the rest of the galaxy. Then they will be weak. Commander Marcus stood near the back of the room. He watched the aliens prepare the weapon. He looked at Sarah and David. They were typing on their data pads, but they were not stopping the aliens. They were waiting. Overlord, Marcus said, stepping forward. You cannot do this. Tsar turned around slowly. And why not, human? Because the satellites are not just for talking, Marcus said calmly. They control the internet. If you destroy the internet, the humans will have nothing left to do. They will all come outside at the same time. Tsar laughed. Good. Then we can shoot them all. You don't understand, David said, looking up from his screen. Right now, half the humans are inside, looking at screens. They are calm. They are entertained. If you take that away, they will be bored. And a bored human is a dangerous thing. We are the coalition. Tsar roared. We fear no bored monkeys. Fire. The gunners pulled the triggers. A massive beam of red energy shot out from the bottom of the ship. It pierced the atmosphere and struck a satellite. The satellite exploded. Then, the beam moved to the next one, and the next one. Within minutes, the sky was full of burning debris. On the bridge, the aliens cheered. We have blinded them, shouted a pilot. Marcus looked at the tactical map. Wait for it, he whispered. Down on Earth, the change happened instantly. In millions of living rooms, the screens went black. The Wi-Fi signal died. The videos stopped playing. The online games disconnected. At first, there was confusion. People tapped their phones. They looked at their routers. They frowned. Then, the anger started. It began as a low grumble, but soon, it became a roar. People walked out of their houses. They stood in the streets. They looked up at the sky. What happened? A man yelled. Who broke the internet? I was in the middle of a movie. A woman screamed. My game. A teenager cried out. Millions of people were now outside, staring at the alien ships in orbit. They were not scared. They were furious. They had been interrupted. They had been disconnected from their digital lives. On the bridge, the sensors started to beep wildly. Overlord. The sensor officer shouted. I am reading massive energy signatures coming from the surface. It is coming from everywhere. What is it? Tsar asked. Is it a secret weapon? It is, noise, Sarah said, looking at her screen. It is 6 billion people yelling at the same time. High Overlord Tsar looked at the screen. He saw huge crowds forming in the cities. But he didn't just see people. He saw strange vehicles coming out of garages. He saw drones lifting off from backyards. Sir, the pilot said, sounding scared. We are receiving radio transmissions. They are targeting our shields. Ignore them. Tsar yelled. Shields are at maximum. But the humans were not using bombs. They were using every signal they could find. Hobbyists with radio antennas were pointing them at the sky. People with powerful lasers, normally used for light shows or cutting metal, were aiming them at the alien ships. Even microwave ovens were modified and pointed out of windows. The combined energy of billions of angry humans was hitting the Vindicator. Our shields are fluctuating. The engineering officer shouted. The interference is too strong. Our navigation systems are failing. Steady. Tsar ordered. Keep firing. But then, a new message came through on the main communication channel. It was not a military threat. It was a video call. The face of a teenage boy appeared on the main screen of the bridge. He was sitting in his bedroom, wearing headphones. Hey, the boy said. Did you guys just knock out the server? Tsar stared at the boy. Who are you? I am High Overlord Tsar. Yeah, cool name, the boy said. Listen, I was about to win a ranked match. My whole team is blaming me because the connection dropped. You owe me a win. We are trying to conquer your planet. Tsar screamed. Dude, nobody cares about conquering right now, the boy said. It's Friday night. You broke the internet. You are the most hated person in the galaxy right now. My mom is super mad, and she's scary. Suddenly, another voice cut in. It was a live stream from a park. A woman was holding a phone, streaming to millions of viewers. Guys, she said. Look at this. My phone says I can hack into the alien frequency if I use this app. On the bridge, alarms started to blare. Sir. The sensor officer yelled. They are hacking our ship. They are changing the temperature. They are turning on the windshield wipers. Turn them off. Tsar ordered, panic rising in his voice. I can't. The officer yelled. They have control. They are changing the background music. Suddenly, the bridge of the Vindicator was filled with the sound of loud, pop music. It was a song about dancing and partying. The serious Krillorian warriors looked at each other in confusion. The lights on the bridge started to flash in different colors. "Make it stop!" Tsar roared, covering his ears. "They are also writing messages on our hull using the external projectors," the officer said. On the main screen, they saw an image of the Vindicator taken from space. Written in giant red letters on the side of the ship were the words, "Fix the Internet." Marcus was smiling now. He walked over to High Overlord Tsar. "Overlord," Marcus said. "It is over. Fight them." Tsar cried. "Shoot the city." "We can't target anything," the pilot said. "The GPS satellites are down, and the humans are jamming our sensors. We are shooting blind. If we fire, we will likely hit empty space or ourselves." Tsar looked at the screen. He saw the boy still waiting for an answer. "Are you going to fix it or what?" the boy asked. "I have a clan meeting in 5 minutes." Tsar looked at his crew. They were tired. They were covered in rashes, mosquito bites, and sticky soda from the vending machines they had raided. They were listening to pop music they couldn't turn off. They were humiliated. The spirit of the invasion was gone. The Galactic Coalition was used to fighting armies. They were not used to fighting angry neighbors, rude wildlife, and internet trolls. Tsar slumped in his chair. "Stop the attack," he whispered. "Sir," the pilot asked. "Stop the attack," Tsar shouted. "And turn on their satellites. Use our backup power to fix the signal." The crew worked fast. They redirected the ship's power to the communication arrays. They hacked into the remaining networks and rebooted the servers. Down on Earth, the screens flickered back to life. The Wi-Fi symbol appeared on phones. The videos started playing again. A cheer went up from the planet. It wasn't a cheer for the aliens, it was a cheer for the return of entertainment. The people went back inside. The lasers were turned off. The microwave cannons were put away. On the bridge, the music stopped. The lights returned to normal. The angry boy on the screen nodded. "Thanks," the boy said. "You're all right, I guess. But next time, don't do it during prime time." He cut the connection. The bridge was quiet again. Tsar sat in his chair, looking old and defeated. He looked at Marcus. "Leave," Tsar said quietly. "Get off my ship." Marcus, Sarah, and David walked to the shuttle bay without looking back. They boarded a small transport ship and detached from the Vindicator. As they flew away, they watched the massive coalition fleet turn around. The engines glowed, and one by one, the ships accelerated into the darkness of space. They were leaving the solar system. They were never coming back. Inside the transport, David finally let out a loud laugh. "We did it. We saved Earth." "I told you," Sarah said, smiling. The secret weapon was just being annoying. Marcus looked out the window at the stars. They learned a valuable lesson today. Space is big and empty. Earth is crowded, noisy, and stubborn. They prefer the quiet. The transport ship descended toward the surface. Marcus contacted the air traffic control. "This is Commander Marcus returning home," he said. "Welcome back, Commander," the controller said. "By the way, you have a lot of parking tickets." And the HFY called. "They said your lawn is overgrown." Marcus laughed. "It's good to be home." They landed safely in a field near the city. As they stepped out of the ship, the air smelled like fresh grass and car exhaust. It wasn't a perfect planet. It was hot, the bugs were biting, and the neighbors were probably arguing about fences. But it was theirs. The aliens had asked how to conquer Earth. They had brought their big guns and their fancy ships. But they had forgotten one simple thing. Humans are hard to manage. Between the raccoons stealing their food, the mosquitoes biting their skin, the farmers chasing them with cows, and the bored teenagers hacking their computers, the aliens had realized the truth. It wasn't worth the trouble. Earth was the kind of planet you visit once, realize it's too much work, and then leave. Marcus looked at the sky. The stars were bright again. He knew that for a long time, no alien would dare come here. The legend would spread across the galaxy. Do not go to the blue planet. They will sell you insurance, steal your wallet, and disconnect your internet. It was the perfect defense. Marcus took a deep breath and stretched his arms. Come on, he said to Sarah and David. I'm hungry. Let's go find a burger. I hope the raccoons didn't eat the food truck. They walked toward the city lights, leaving the empty sky behind them. The invasion was over. Earth had won, mostly because it was too annoying to lose.